delighted that you're here today. I want to thank Jackie and Dr. Langley for asking me to talk to you today. We're limiting our talk today mainly to movement as we get older, and the importance of movement and the importance of what happens if you don't move enough. There's all kinds of things that have to do with total health. We're going to look at that in a minute. Okay, now how many of you could use some more energy? Anybody? A few, just a few of you? The rest of you? Okay. How about any sleep issues in the room? With problems sleeping, getting to sleep, staying asleep, whatever? Anybody have weight issues? Okay. How about heart issues? Digestive issues as we get older? Yeah. What about joint problems? Stiffness, joint pain, etc. Anybody had cancer? Anybody know anybody that has cancer or has had cancer? How about diabetes? Yeah. Any other what I call lack of activity issues? Blood pressure, memory problems, sarcopenia, which is losing muscle mass in the body that kind of happens normally as we age, or shortness of breath. Anybody have just a little trouble breathing like you used to? Okay. I have this little pill I'd like to, no. Takes care of all this stuff, yeah. These are the things that I consider being part of having optimal health. One is having a toxin-free home, good nutritional skin care. Let's face it, folks, if you put it on your skin, it gets into your bloodstream. That's why they make patches for non-smoking and things like that. So you have to be very careful about the skincare products, sunscreen and everything else that you use. Got to be careful. Activity, we're going to focus on this one today. Healthy eating, getting your weight down to a healthy level. Supplementation, it's no longer an option. I'm not going to dwell on that today, but basically there's only about 3% of the population in the United States that actually get all of the minimum RDAs of vitamins and minerals from their diet alone. 3%. And personal passion, financial security, all those kind of things make for, boom, that's my little explosion sound in there. Make for, you like that? Make for optimal health. Today, though, we're going to stick to activity. There are really 4 areas of activity that we're going to talk about. One is aerobic training, the other resistance training, flexibility training, and balance training. Anybody have any issues with balance as you get a little older? Yeah, how about that? Yeah, a little bit about my story, why I'm up here today. Back in 1980, I won't start before that. But I was a performer. I performed opera and musical theater around. The first one was in 1980. The second one, some of you may remember from 2004 here in town when we did Fiddler here with Island Opera Theater. In 85 and 86, yeah, that's me. My first name is actually Raymond. That's why the name tag, I wasn't posing as somebody else there. But,
Right or left?
Where the arrow is, pointing at me, yeah. Yeah, oh, sight issues. I didn't even ask about that one, yeah. But I ran and completed the New York City Marathon 2 years, 85 and 86. 1990, I was diagnosed with chronic asthma in the hospital a lot of times, and they put me on prednisone. Anybody ever been on prednisone, even for a little Z-Pack or Z-Strip or whatever of it? It's a great drug. It's a very inexpensive drug, but boy, does it have side effects, especially for long-term use. I was on it over 20 years. That's how long it took me to finally be able to get off of it without having a reoccurrence of the severe hospitalizing asthma. I met my wife Sandy in 96. It's really not anything about that except I like this picture from Fantasy Fest, so I threw that in there. In 2001, this is something I really wanted to talk about today. Because of the prednisone issues, in 2001, my bone scan, and you can see it here, showed severe risk of fracture in my hips and lower spine. Now, I started doing more resistance work that we're going to talk about today. I also started using a lot of nutritional products, and by 2004, my next bone scan was a moderate risk. I was still on the prednisone at that time, and so I'd already started building back the bone loss that I had had. And my third bone scan was in 2008, and that's what the doctor wrote on this, because now my fracture risk was low. So the doctor was pretty impressed with that. By 2010, Again, the 20 years of steroids really caught up with me. A lot of weight gain. In August of that year, I had bilateral quadriceps ruptures, meaning all the tendons in both legs were totally ruptured. So mainly they had to reattach my legs at the knees. I was in a wheelchair and braces, there we go. For 7 weeks in the wheelchair, I got up to 298 pounds. My parents, God bless them, drove down from Indiana, spent 7 weeks with us, helping to take care of me so my wife could continue to work during my rehabilitation. And it actually took me 2 years before I could go down a flight of steps forward without feeling like, I was going to fall down. Or I was scared to death to fall. How am I going to get up? I was so worried about it happening again. Anyway, 2013, my last bone scan that I had, again, fracture risk is still low. So I'm pretty excited about that. Because this arm is the only one that's never had anything happen to it. So, so I'm trying to be real careful of it. But now it can't because of my bone scan results. Since the surgery, I received certifications. I kind of went back to school. I got very concerned about lying in that bed for 7 weeks and having to be taken care of. And I decided I didn't want that. I didn't want that for myself for later on. So I went back to school. I got some certifications. I've lost over 50 pounds so far. I just started Monday my next 50 chapter. I have completed a lot of 5Ks and 10Ks now. I do race walking. I don't run anymore. And I've completed 2 half marathons down here. So even in this hot weather. Oy. And I'm on my way to a total weight loss will be 123 pounds when I get back down to 175. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm 65 and I feel better than I have in the last 20 years. Here's today. So a little bit different. That was a 10K that we did a marathon. And here's my plan for the future. Like that one? So why are you laughing? I don't quite understand. It's the waxing. Yeah, I ain't waxing anything. No. Okay, but let's talk about us. Why do we hurt as we start to get older or continue to get older? And some anatomy facts that you may not know. There are 206 bones in the adult skeleton. Do you realize there are 25 in each hand? You got 8 in the wrist, 2 in your thumb, and 3 in each finger. I mean, that's 50 bones just in the hand. So there's a lot of stuff that can start to ache and hurt. Depending on which source you use online, there are anywhere from 240 to 360 joints in the body. Most are movable, but some are not. And I think that's where the question comes in. 640 muscles, 900 plus ligaments in the body. Now ligaments, anybody know the difference between a ligament and a tendon? Ligaments join bone to bone. Tendons join bone to muscle. Those are the differences. Look at the number of tendons in the body. Over 4,000 tendons in the body. It is amazing the amount of stuff in there that can get hurt, get strained, have pain. It's no wonder. What happens to us as we age? Look at what happens to your cardiovascular system. Your heart rate slows down unless you do something to keep it from slowing down. The heart can enlarge, blood vessels can become stiffer. The heart has to work harder to get the blood through the body, and that can lead to hypertension or high blood pressure. What can you do to promote heart health? There's a lot of things, but again, today we're focusing mainly on the exercise portion of it. So obviously healthy eating and healthy weight, but include physical activity, whether it's walking, swimming, whatever you enjoy doing, even if it's gardening or something, do something. Regular physical activity can help you reduce your weight, can help lower blood pressure, which can reduce the arterial stiffening in the body. How about our lungs? We talked about that earlier. Everybody's had some lung issues. Actually, the bones in the chest can actually become thinner, and the chest cavity can change its shape and constrict the lungs so your lungs won't open as well as they did before. The diaphragm weakens, making it harder to get air. Lung tissues can lose their ability to keep the airways completely open, which it makes it tough then to get out all that carbon dioxide that can collect down there and other junk that happens in your lungs. Too little oxygen going into your blood vessels. All of these things happen to us as we age. And the lungs, more happens in the lungs than any place else. The part of the brain that controls breathing, can lose some of its function. Okay? Nerves in the airways can become less sensitive, making it harder to get junk out of the lungs. Your immune system can weaken, which makes you more susceptible to diseases of the airways. And they're less able to recover after exposure to things that we don't want, whether it's cigarette smoke from somebody else or whatever. To sum it up, you're at increased risk for lung infections, shortness of breath, low oxygen levels, and abnormal breathing patterns, which can lead to sleep apnea and other things that a lot of people end up getting treated for as they get older. What can you do to improve your respiratory system? Guess what? Don't smoke, obviously. You know, get up and move. Do physical exercise, which helps improve your lung function. You're going to see the do physical exercise, it's going to pop up a lot as what you can do to help with different things. Bones, joints, muscles. We looked at all those different things in the body. They tend to shrink over time in size and in density, and that's the issue, the density. They get more brittle, they get more porous. Muscles also generally lose their strength, and you lose muscle volume, and that's called sarcopenia. And as you lose muscle and your bones get weaker, then you start to have issues with balance and coordination too. Sarcopenia accelerates as we get older, making you feel more frail, increasing the chance of falls, and then increasing the chance of fracture. And fractures, especially as we get older, what's the most common one, right? Hip fractures. And believe me, when that happens, it's tough. What can you do to promote joint and muscle health? Guess what? Include physical activity in your daily routine, right? Weight-bearing exercises, yeah, walking, jogging, tennis, those kind of things are important, but strength training is so important, and that's what we tend not to do. We may go out for our daily walk, but you're using then the largest muscle groups in the body, which are the ones more used to doing aerobic activity. So instead, when you start doing some resistance training and using these smaller muscles, you get winded very quickly because they are not used to doing aerobic work. So strength training is extremely important. It helps you build muscle back too and stop the loss. It also helps get the bone loss, stop the bone loss from happening. Digestive system, constipation is more common. What are you going to do? The biggest thing though too is this diminished capacity for absorbing nutrition. The more our intestines and digestive tract get clogged and don't function as well, the fewer nutrients are absorbed into the body. Obviously low fiber diet, not enough fluids, yada, 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 lack of exercise, and certain medications. It's tough. You know, diuretics, iron supplements, there are iron supplements and then there are iron supplements. That's another conversation. Certain medical conditions, which we talked about, diabetes, and things like IBS or irritable bowel syndrome. All those things just make it harder and harder and harder to have optimal health. What can you do to improve your digestive system? Include physical activity in your daily routine. There seems to be a pattern here, right? But obviously the high fiber, soluble and insoluble, and drinking lots of water. You know the difference between soluble and insoluble fiber? Insoluble fiber is your basic Roto-Rooter kind of fiber. Soluble fiber gets into the bloodstream, it dissolves in there, and it actually helps draw impurities out of the blood, bond with them, and move them out of the blood. So soluble fiber is extremely important for your heart health too. Okay, your bladder and urinary tract. Incontinence, that's a drag. Certain medical conditions, diabetes can contribute to that. So can menopause, and for men, an enlarged prostate. All can affect the kidneys and urinary tract, and bladder especially. What can you do to promote it? Maintain a healthy weight, which means get out and exercise, watch what you eat, keep your weight down. Do Kegel exercises, that's a whole different conversation there, and drink lots of water. What happens as we age? I forgot what's on this. Oh yeah, memory. Okay. That becomes less effective and less efficient as we get older unless we work at it. It can take longer to learn new things, makes it harder to remember things that we knew before. It's an issue as we get older. But what can you do? You can include physical activity in your daily routine. It increases the blood flow to the entire body, which increases blood flow to the brain, which helps your memory. It can also reduce high blood pressure, and in turn can reduce a risk for dementia. There's a lot of studies right now on how dementia and blood pressure and heart health and all those things are combined. Also dementia and the use of household cleaning chemicals, things that we've been exposed to over the years, over many, 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 many years. Do you ever wonder when you go in the hotel room and they say, oh, don't go in there right now, we just cleaned? It's like, okay, something's wrong with that picture, right? But again, that's another story that we can do sometime. Your weight. Maintaining a healthy weight is much more difficult as we get older, and for a lot of reasons. Your muscle mass, as I said, naturally decreases as we get older, and body fat increases. The less muscle mass, let me back up one second. A pound of fat burns maybe 1 to 2 calories a day just to be there. A pound of muscle burns about 50 calories a day just to exist. It's a living thing. So as you lose muscle mass, if you're eating the same amount of food, your body's going to be burning fewer calories and you're going to start to gain weight. So building back that muscle mass, keeping the muscles healthy is going to fire up your metabolism and help you lose weight. Fat tissues burn less. Yep. What can you do to maintain a healthy weight? Oh, you can increase the physical activity in your daily routine. As I said, increased muscle mass burns more calories. So now let's talk about you specifically. What do you want the rest of your life to look like? You want to play on the floor with your grandkids without having to have help getting back up later? We've all been there, right? Do you want to be independent well into your 90s or beyond? Do you want to walk up a flight of steps without wheezing or having to be helped or without your knees bothering you? So what do you want to look like the rest of your life? Or that may be a stretch, but you never know. Yeah. That's my wife and I on a little hiking trip that we took. But you have the choices, and you can make the decisions on these things. Now again, we talked about these 4 areas of activity: aerobic, resistance, flexibility, and balance. And we do that. I don't see our gym owner here yet. He was going to drop by. But this is one of the classes that I teach. We'll talk about the information that was on the table for you. But this is my Aging Boldly class, which I do twice a week at Body Zone Gym. This was one of the things with aerobics that we were doing, little step work. I also have people that can't use the step, so they'll just step in place and walk in place, but they still go through the same exercises. Resistance training, flexibility training. I work with people that have issues. That's the only thing or one of the things that makes it worthwhile, is people have decided, I don't care what my issues are, I want to have more effect on my own health. We do balance training. I didn't have any pictures in my class of the balance exercises, so I had to usurp some pictures here from it. But we do balance training. So what can you do? You can do it yourself. You can develop your own program and work on it, which is fine. You can buy a DVD and pop it in your TV at home and follow along with it. Finding one that's the right level for you sometimes can be interesting. You can join a gym. You can participate in different events around town. You can begin gardening, other activities. If you always wanted to play tennis, maybe try pickleball first. Find a class or a trainer specializing in the effects of aging. And that's not always that easy to find, but obviously, I teach at Body Zone Gym. I do personal training with people too, but if I walked into the gym, I'm not going to hire a 25-year-old personal trainer. because they don't have a clue what it feels like to wake up in the morning and go, oh God, just getting, they don't have a clue, right? And again, somebody 25 coming into the gym is not going to hire me as a trainer because they don't think I can, rev them up enough. But, so you want to find somebody that really can understand what you're doing and has the knowledge to work with you and help you get to your goals. This is what can happen when you take action. You join the elite, and I'll tell you why I use that term, and you can live younger, longer. It's the elite because only 17% of men and 13% of women over 65 are sufficiently active. Not a lot, okay? I love this. 44% of adults over the age of 70 take a 20-minute walk once a year or less. That's given up. As far as I'm concerned, that's given up. What happens when you start working out again, even if it's just a little bit, but start doing something, your balance improves, your strength improves, your walk improves, you get more muscle power, your blood pressure equalizes. I mean, yeah, sometimes you still have to have medication, but it helps. And your bone density, again, as a result, your bone density is going to increase. The British study, I love this. 90-year-old women in a nursing home, 12 weeks of strength training, and they took 20 years off of their thigh muscle age, which means they can get out of chairs easier, they can go up and down steps easier. So that was a pretty interesting study. 6 months of regular exercise, VO2 max is the air max in your lungs, increased by 30%. In 60 to 70-year-olds. National Institute of Mental Health, regular exercise associated with reduced stress, reduced depression, reduced anxiety. Enhanced cognitive function, memory, overall psychological well-being and self-esteem, and more contact with the community. Getting out, doing things, talking to people, being with other people. And Harvard found that men who burned 2,000 calories a week, which isn't that much really per day. It's only an extra 300 and some, no, 300, less than 300 a day. Lived 2.5 years longer on average than men who did not. Now 2.5 years may not sound like a lot, but think about the quality of those 2.5 years and the quality of probably the 10 years that preceded that as they were continued to work and get this extra 2.5 years. It's how you want to live your life. It's do you want to feel better? Do you want to be more vibrant? The choice really is yours. Why do I do this? I want to inspire and help others to do what they can to have a healthier life. We may have to get older, but we don't have to get elderly. Okay? So my classes are called Aging Boldly. We do aerobic training, resistance, balance. You can do it at the gym. I have a home gym on Sugarloaf. I can come to your home. It doesn't matter if you work with me or anybody that knows about your issues, or do it yourself. But do something. Make that decision. This was a nice article in the Citizen about our classes. On the back of the business card that is there for you, there's a link to this health print. It literally only takes 5 minutes. It's like 20 questions, but they give you great information about kind of where you are, both in lifestyle and in health, and what you might need to focus on a little bit. It's really simple, but it's a good overall assessment. And it is never too late, folks. It is never too late to start. You have to make the decision. I can help. MDVIP can help. Dr. Langley can help. Body Zone Fitness, which is what happens to be the gym that I'm with, they can help, but you have to want it. You have to decide. And if you do, then we're here to help you.